We're going to start with our presentation from Gian and Ozazi.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. The Collapse of Communist Rule in Russia by me and Osazi. What is the Soviet Union? The Soviet Union is the first country in history to form a government-based system known as communism. However, it had only existed from 1922 to 1991. It was created 5 years after the Russian Revolution. During this time, the Soviet Union was one of the most powerful countries in the world. It was also the first country to declare itself socialist and had a population of 293 million people. They also participated in major events such as the Cold War.
Okay, so who were the main leaders of the Soviet Union? So the past leaders of the Soviet Union goes in this order as follows. So Vladimir Lenin was from 1922 to 1924, which was only 2 years. Joseph Stalin was from 1924 to 1953, which was 29 years. Nikita Khrushchev was from 1953 to 1964, which was 11 years. Georgy Malenkov was from just only in 1953. So Leonid Brezhnev was from 1964 to 1982, which was 18 years. Yuri Andropov was from 1982 to 1984, only 2 years. Konstantin Kurenko was from 1984 to 1985, only 1 year. And Mikhail Gorbachev was from 1985 to 1991, which was the last years of the Soviet Union.
What happened to the Soviet Union? The Soviet Union collapsed in 1991 after economic difficulty. On December 8, 1991, Russian, Ukrainian, and Belarusian presidents signed an agreement to end the Soviet Union. The last leader, named Mikhail Gorbachev, stated a nuclear accident in 1986 is the cause for the collapse. In the result, all countries that were once a part of this union were now separated.
So why did the Soviet Union collapse? The Soviet Union started in the 1922s and collapsed on December 26th of 1991. There are many causes to this collapse, including economic complications and mainly because of a former president named Mikhail Gorbachev. There were oil production declines caused by old technology, poor management, and lack of investment to the industry. The economy had complications since it is a command economy, meaning the government controls all aspects of the country, which can limit freedom of career choices based on your interest. Gorbachev's decision to allow elections with a multi-party system and create a presidency for the Soviet Union began a slow process of democratization.
On April 26 of 1986, a nuclear incident in Chernobyl at 1:23 a.m. occurred, killing 30 people, including nearby workers, and released deadly levels of radiation. This greatly contributed to the collapse. In 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev wanted to free the Soviet Union. He made changes that led to Soviet citizens wanting more freedom than they already had. 2 years later, in 1987, Soviet Republicans wanted independence because of the limited confidence in the Russian economy. In 1991, each of the 15 republics declared themselves sovereign, which led to the collapse of the communist rule in Russia.
The Chernobyl accident of 1986. This accident was one of the major reasons which caused the collapse of the Soviet Union, as Gorbachev stated. The accident was a result of a flawed reactor design that was used and operated by improperly trained workers. Many people were evacuated and had to move away from the blast site due to extremely high amounts of radiation in the area. Protests were performed by Ukrainian citizens and were directed to Russia. Inside one of the reactors holds one of the most dangerous objects on planet Earth. Due to high amounts of radioactive material, just standing beside it for 5 minutes will lead to guaranteed death. The blast occurred in a town located in Ukraine, which was one of the countries part of the Soviet Union.
What was Mikhail Gorbachev's impact on the collapse? Mikhail Gorbachev was the last leader of the Soviet Union before it had to shut down. He also ended the Cold War by eliminating all nuclear and conventional missiles as well as their launchers. The economic reforms under Perestroika, which is restructuring, included that allowed peeled back restrictions on foreign trade and more control over many businesses. Was supposed to help the Soviet economy, however, it didn't. The government spending soared as well as food prices. In decentralizing power from the massive communist bureaucracy towards local power control, Gorbachev alienated party apparatchiks, deprived himself of a power base to support his reforms, incited nationalists and independents inside and outside the USSR, which wounded the Communist Party itself.
So countries that formed after the collapse. There were also countries that formed in the result of the fall. The Baltic states, which were Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, were the first countries to receive independence after the fall of the Soviet Union. Ukraine was the next country to leave after a majority of the people voting for independence from a referendum. Other countries that started to become independent after Gorbachev's resignation were Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Georgia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Moldova, Dagestan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan.
December 25th, 2016 marks 25 years since the president of the Soviet Union resigned, leading to the end of the most powerful communist-leaning country in history. Although it stood as a major opposing force to the United States throughout the second half of the 20th century, the country's domestic struggles ultimately led to its downfall. So why exactly did the Soviet Union collapse? Well, the fall of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, or USSR, can be said to begin with its last leader, Mikhail Gorbachev. He was in power from 1985 to 1991 and implemented a large number of reforms to try and deal with the growing unrest countrywide. Gorbachev entered office following what was called the era of stagnation, generally considered to cover the mid-1960s to the mid-1980s. Although the causes of this stagnation varied, they were largely based on economic, social, and military issues instituted during the reign of Leonid Brezhnev and several subsequent leaders. Although different theories have been proposed, one suggests that the Soviet Union was desperate to outperform the United States in two major regions, military and spaceflight. This led to excessive spending, with the Soviet Union establishing a self-contained military-industrial complex at the expense of the economy, leading to underproduction and stagnation. Moreover, after decades of repressive communist rule, domestic attitudes towards the government were at an all-time low, leading to greater dissent and unrest. As the new leader, Gorbachev quickly set out to reverse this stagnation through two massive programs unlike Russia had ever seen before. The first was called Glasnost, effectively meaning transparency. Banned books, operated a secret police force against dissent, and arrested citizens for political disagreements. But Glasnost ended all of these practices and even tacitly encouraged new freedoms. The policy also made an effort to reduce the Communist Party's hold on the entire government, allowing competitive multi-candidate elections to occur. The next stage was called Perestroika, or restructuring. This was an effort to move away from the structured economy run entirely by the state, allowing for more private ownership of businesses and semi-free market access. These two new efforts completely shifted the focus of Soviet politics and economy and closely mirrored the Western ideals that had made other countries successful. Unfortunately, the major shift was unable to undo decades of state rule, and in the words of Gorbachev, the old system collapsed before the new one had time to begin working, and the crisis in the society became even more acute. In this interim period, the economy got considerably worse, as did standards of living for nearly all members of the Soviet Union and its satellite states. Slowly, these Eastern European satellite states began to hold free elections, mostly as a result of the Glasnost reform. The first to shift away was Poland, whose newly free elections instituted a non-communist party and ultimately independence. Soon, other satellite states saw their own peaceful transitions of power. Eventually, these efforts led to widespread unrest throughout the government, and in August of 1991, a group of hardline Communist Party members attempted a coup d'etat against Gorbachev, who they believed was steering the country into failure. The coup did not work, and Gorbachev resigned as head of the Communist Party, which had tried to overthrow him. It was ultimately dissolved entirely. In the midst of the coup, several Baltic states announced their independence, which triggered a domino effect over the next few months. By December of 1991, Ukraine, Russia, Belarus, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Moldova, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan left the Soviet Union. They formed amongst themselves a new international commonwealth of independent states removed from the USSR. Within a few days, the now powerless USSR government, which technically only had power over Georgia, was dissolved by Gorbachev, ending 69 years of a world power. In the past 25 years, Russia has managed to somewhat recover its former glory, as the Russian Federation is the 13th largest economy in the world, boasting the second most powerful military. Although it is still lagging behind, Russia's resurgence as a global power is a testament to its influence before the fall of the Soviet Union.
And that's all.
All right, thank you. Just give me a second to mark this. All right, guys, give me a second to put attendance on Trillium, okay? Oh, now it says we have 19 people. Doesn't add up. All right, guys, let's take up chapter 9. All right, guys, listen up. I will see cohort A tomorrow. I will see cohort B on Thursday. My book of life is due. You must have finished reading the entire book and answering all the study questions. I will be asking you at random for answers to see who has done their homework, especially since I'm going to need that information for midterm reports next week. Then I am also going to assign you your major assignment, which is an essay of comparison. I'm going to assign that tomorrow for cohort A and Thursday for cohort B. Okay? So make sure that you are in class because you need the instruction. Okay? Any questions? No? All right, guys, great.